What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. Dan Kasper Show's on the air, radio dials, couple of those, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it there. Get the YouTube video link. It's also available on Facebook and Twitter. Excuse me. Also, your Google and Alexa home devices and the Sports Talk app. Appreciate you all making us a part of your start on this Tuesday morning of January 17th. What do we got on the game plan here this morning? We'll recap NFL Wild Card Weekend now that it is officially in the books after last night's Cowboys win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-14. Mike McCarthy even doing a little dancing in the locker room, wearing some chains in there. If you haven't seen the video up there on Twitter, but nonetheless, Cowboys now moving on to face the San Francisco 49ers. We got everything set up now for divisional weekend coming up this weekend. So, in case you didn't see the schedule, first game on the docket is going to be Jaguars visiting the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday afternoon at 3:30. Then Saturday night, the Giants visiting the Eagles. And then on Sunday, we'll have the Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Buffalo Bills. And then the Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Anything really surprise you from Wild Card Week? I mean, I know we had the Jaguars making that huge comeback against the Chargers. But did anything like just complete? I don't think there was like really any major, like shocking moments like whoa sort of thing. I mean, unless you kind of thought Tampa Bay or it was kind of riding on that Tom Brady train or something like that. I don't know, but like anything really surprised me or shocked me or anything. So I'm just glad, I mean, looking at it, I was like looking at the matchups before it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of maybe a little some dull games and that. And, Seattle and San Francisco, at least in the first half, it was close and entertaining. And then San Francisco just put the beat down on in the second half. Then it looked like Chargers were going to just run away with that thing. And then Jaguars, obviously, turning it around and making that epic comeback. Dolphins made it a game against the Bills on Sunday. Cincinnati and Baltimore were close. Giants and Vikings was a close game throughout. And then Dallas just kind of dominating last night. So even though on paper initially kind of looked like some mediocre matchups, I thought it was a pretty darn good super wild card weekend. And now it's setting up for, I think, a pretty good divisional weekend here. Some interesting matchups. But before we kind of look at that, we'll kind of recap a wild card weekend and all that good stuff coming up here in just a little bit. Anything kind of maybe, I don't know, how much do you take away from what, I know some people, I was kind of reading some stuff earlier this morning, like, oh, watch out for this team now, maybe making a Super Bowl run or something like that. You didn't even get to see the onesies play, Chiefs and Eagles and such. But when you kind of look at what game do you think there's an upset brewing in divisional round weekend? You think the Giants can go into Philly and take down their divisional rival? Do you think the Cowboys can go to the West Coast and take down the red hot San Francisco 49ers? Can Doug Peterson defeat his long-time mentor, Andy Reid, in the postseason with the Jaguars? And Bengals and Bills, we all know that one's going to have a lot of emotion attached to it, given what just happened a few weeks ago with Damar Hamlin, still fresh in the minds of everybody because it wasn't that long ago. So we know that one's going to have I would imagine, a lot of emotion into that one. I mean, on paper, if I'm looking at it, the best game of the weekend, I'm kind of looking at maybe kind of looking a little bit at that one. But if you had to pick between some of the some of the legit underdogs because I don't know. Yeah, I guess I mean Cincinnati would technically be, but I'm looking at like the Giants or the Cowboys or the Jaguars. Between those three, who would you pick as maybe a chance to really upset, and go to the conference championships here? So, we'll talk a little football coming up. Also, we'll talk a little. I should say, continue our series with the offseason for the Packers scouting report. Today we're going to look at the safeties, which this is going to be a big position that the Packers will probably, most likely, have to address this offseason. Adrian Amos, you look at his last couple of years, if you use the Pro Football Focus as the grades for Pro Football Focus as kind of a meter stick, if you will, all the grades have gone down the last couple of years here. Then you got Darnell Savage. What position does he actually play? Is he a safety? Is he a nickel corner? What's going to be the plan? Will they entertain the idea of maybe perhaps moving Rasul Douglas to safety? But I think this is a position that is really intriguing to me for the Packers this offseason because they could go into it thinking they need two brand new safeties, or maybe they look at one, or maybe they bring everybody back and run it back with the current group. I could see it going each way. Honestly, I really could. So we're gonna take a look at the safeties coming up here in just a little bit as well. Bucks picking up a win yesterday afternoon on Martin Luther King Day, so it was a day game for the Bucks. No Giannis, no Middleton, so Drew Holiday helping lead the comeback there, and the Bucks picking up the 132-119 victory against the Indiana Pacers. But Bucks second half, especially that fourth quarter, dominating the Pacers, outscoring the Pacers in the fourth, 39-21. You look at it, it was, as we mentioned, Drew Holiday with 35 points and 11 assists. Bobby Portis getting the start, 21 points to help out the cause. Brooke Lopez, 19. Grayson Allen contributing 17. And then Jordan Nora coming off the bench, putting up 14 points. Perfect from three. 4 for 4 for Mr. Jordan Nora. So I want to, we've been talking about the trade deadline coming up February 9th. And Jordan Nora has been a player that has been constantly talked about as a potential part of any trade package out there. But my question to maybe some of you Bucks fans here, and I know it's a little bit of a small sample size, but you look at the last couple of games here. So Monday against the Pacers, he went 14 points, shot 100% from three, 4 for 4 from three. Okay. And then you go back to his last game that he played Thursday against Miami. Played 28 minutes in that game, shot 50% from three, 16 points. Would you like to see, because I mean, when you look at it, when he gets extended minutes, he tends to put up some decent numbers. Would you like to see maybe Jordan Nora get some extended playing time and maybe see what you got with there? Or are you just kind of like, and maybe see to if he can help out the ball club and be a contributor, a main contributor off the bench? Or are you kind of still dead set on no, he's just keep playing him and then improve his draft stock? Because when you look at this, so those last two games when he played over 20 minutes, 16 and 14 points. 14 yesterday, 16 against Miami. His other game that he played over, I mean, he hasn't played over 20 minutes since December 3rd against Charlotte, where he played at 32 minutes, scored 17. Got close. He played 19 minutes against Orlando on December 5th and played, scored 6 points there. And then December 15th, played 16 minutes, scored 10. But even if you go back a little bit further, mid November, Played 29 minutes against Cleveland, 21 points. Do you think Jordan Nora is a guy that just needs to get some more playing time? And would you like to see the Bucks maybe incorporate him a little bit more into the rotation? And maybe he's like, okay, maybe instead of always talking about him as a part of a package for a trade, could he actually be a contributor and help out this ball club getting another championship? Bucks will be back in action tonight against Toronto before they get 3 days off. Bucks holding on to that three spots in the Eastern Conference. Them and Brooklyn, 4.5 back from Boston right now. Boston's on a 7-game winning streak. They just look freaking awesome right now. Brooklyn holding on, slightest advantage with that second seed overall because of win percentage, but right behind Brooklyn and the Bucks, you've got Philadelphia, who's just a half game back from those two, and Cleveland, who's just a half game back from those two as well. Philadelphia 7-3 in their last 10 games. So you're talking about the top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference. Just 5 games was separated by just 5 games. So yeah, compare it to like the Western Conference, the 15 Dallas Mavericks, 7 games back. A couple more there. So we'll talk some hoops, including we got the Badgers back in action tonight, going up against Penn State. Badgers need a win. Don't know about Tyler Wall, if he's going to be. Yeah, he did some practice. Badgers still kind of calling it day by day at this point, but the Badger hoops team, they could pretty darn obvious they could use his services and get him back as soon as possible. But they're being careful with it. But falling to Indiana on Saturday, 63-45, after their loss against Michigan State last Tuesday, and then before that, a loss against Illinois. So 3-game losing streak right now for the Badger hoops team. So looking at this game against Penn State, hoping maybe they can get that W and this little bit of a schneid. So we'll talk all things Badgers with RJ Cardinal. We're from our sister station, The Zone in Madison. Not only a little bit of hoops, but we'll do some more chats on the Badger football team. CJ Williams officially coming, as we mentioned late last week, or no, it was on Friday. Friday it officially happened. So a little wide receiver over there. Badgers they're still kind of filling out some of their coaching staff. Just the other day, they hired Grand Valley State head coach Matt Mitchell as the school's new special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach. Mitchell had a career record of 117 wins and 31 losses in 12 seasons at Grand Valley, which was a Division II school in Michigan. So, but we'll catch up on all things Badgers with our guy, Mr. R.J. Cardinal. We got that. We're gonna do a little. Well, it is a grind my gears Tuesday. So, what's grinding your gears? You can let us know on that. We'll do a little bench start cut. I'm gonna get to that before the top of the 7 o'clock hour there, and then a little bit of a pop quiz Tuesday too. We'll get to that coming up after the break too. So, plenty to get to here. It's a busy Tuesday morning, so let's jump right into it. We'll recap I would say, a fairly entertaining wild card weekend. I would say it exceeded the expectations I had going into it. The at least the 49ers and Seahawks game was entertaining in the first half, and then it's just like, and then the Saturday night game, it started off, but turned it around and became an entertaining game there, which is now setting up for, I think, a pretty darn fun divisional weekend coming up here. So you got the Giants, the 6 seed, taking on the 1 seed Philly. And you got the Jaguars and Doug Peterson going up against his mentor, Andy Reid, the Chiefs. Which one of those two teams do you think has the best shot at knocking off a 1 seed? Is it the Giants going up against the Eagles? Or can the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence pull another rabbit out of their hat and upset the Chiefs? Jaguars and Chiefs did play earlier this year. Chiefs won that game. I believe it was it 27, yeah, 27-17. At that point, the Jaguars were 3-7 after that. And that was kind of what maybe kind of propelled them a little bit there. They only lost one more game after that. So let's talk some football, and then we'll get into a little Packers scouting, offseason scouting report here. Want to take a look at the the safeties group here, and I know when we last talked to Brian Gutekunst had his presser, so we'll take a look at kind of maybe some of the to take anything away from. I know it's been a few days ago, so if you missed it, we'll maybe kind of hit that up a little bit later on too. So, but let's get things rolling. Opening drive. We'll chat a little football here this morning to get you going on Tuesday morning. Don't forget you can join the conversation 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Just hit us up with a text there or on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be back after these words. Well, we've gotten some weird weather so far this season in Wisconsin, as we all know. Rain like all day yesterday. Now we're gonna get some snow coming up here in a couple of days. So it's had a big impact on our roads too. Potholes, snow covered, bumps all over the place. Now that can wreak some havoc on your vehicle too. I mean, we've probably hit some of those potholes or some of those like, ice kind of, you know, divots there, here and there. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's like kind of, your suspensions maybe. Hopefully it's working in your vehicles. Otherwise, it could be really rough. But, if something does happen with my vehicle, I know I can go to ASAP Used Auto Parts for help because if I need to replace maybe a tire or, maybe get a tire out or something like that, ASAP Used Auto Parts has me covered from a high quality wide selection of used auto parts. Check it out for yourself. You can visit their website, asapusedautopartsec.com, and kind of check out their list of available parts on there. Or if you need new tires there, that's where I've gotten my new tires for my vehicle. They got the best deals with the best tires in the Chippewa Valley. So, and if your vehicle's kind of taking a little bit of a beating with the road conditions out there right now, take a look at ASAP Used Auto Parts. They'll help you out, whether it's, again, getting some new tires or maybe trying to save some money on a high quality used auto part. Maybe you need an oil change. Maybe you need a battery. Help your vehicle start up in the mornings. ASAP Used Auto Parts has you covered in all those different areas. So chances are we're going to have some more weird weather that will affect our vehicles. So just know that if you need help finding that part, getting those tires or that battery, or even getting that oil change, ASAP Used Auto Parts is there to help you out. Speaking of that weird weather, make sure you're kind of paying attention to our website, sportstalk1051.com, in the next couple days for school closings and delays, brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. I know we're kind of in a winter storm watch, depending on where you're listening to us from. So maybe kind of keep an eye out for that. All right, let's get going here. Opening drive, living a dream. Jeff pumped up about the Vikings losing. Skull still keeps on losing. Living a dream, man. Oh man, social media, Facebook and Twitter after that game was just, whew, yeah, all over the place. But one of the better games over the weekend, I would argue. Right? I mean, at least it was entertaining. It was close throughout. So, kind of recapping what we saw, we kind of did a little bit of that with the 49ers. Second half, just dominating Seattle. Thanks for playing, Seattle. Moving on to the divisional round, they're hosting the Dallas Cowboys, who won last night against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So now we get to add to the offseason chatter. Will Brady be back? Where will he play? I got something to say about that here in a second, or just in a couple minutes. But we got San Francisco and Dallas now set up, which I might as well tell you right now. Your pop quiz question: how many times, or what's the all-time record between the Cowboys and the 49ers in the playoffs, in the postseason? The all-time record. I was a little bit surprised at the total number of games these two teams play. Try not to look it up. Try not to look it up, okay? So I'm giving you a little bit. I'm giving it to you early this morning, your pop quiz question. Don't try to cheat, but what do you think is the all-time record between Cowboys, 49ers? Who has the most wins, or is it tied? What do you got for me? Hit me up with a text tweet at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Casper Sports. Well, we got 49ers, Cowboys matched up now. The other part of the NFC we saw, as we just mentioned, the Giants. I gotta tell you, I'm impressed with the Giants. I know we saw them agree with going up against the Packers in London earlier in the season, but if Brian Dable isn't the head or coach of the year, I'd throw Doug Peterson in that. I know Kyle Shanahan's going to get some votes or some attention as well. But what he has done with that group, I thought the Giants heading into the year were going to be positioned for like maybe the first pick or at least the top 3, top 5 overall pick. What he has done with Daniel Jones, I mean, Daniel Jones, we thought was probably good. I think a lot of people thought was going to be out, and now he might get a huge contract. Huge contract. Saquon Barkley's finally healthy. You know, the thing that was kind of when I was watching that Giants game, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, watched that Giants and Vikings game, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, okay, you got Daniel Jones, and this isn't a knock on Daniel Jones because he's playing extremely well. But then you look at the receivers group, Darius Slayton, and those other guys, and they were able to attack. And I know Minnesota's defense, pass defense especially, has been poo poo. But I mean, how many times were they just wide open down the field? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how in the world, how in the world couldn't Green Bay do stuff similar to that? And I'm thinking, is it okay, Daniel Jones, a quarterback that's playing within the system, within the play calls? Because I'm looking at that wide receiver group and I'm thinking, they're moving the ball with those guys. Why couldn't Green Bay move the ball with their receivers? Is it because you got a quarterback playing within the play calls, within the system? I don't know. It's just I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, I don't know either. I'm purely speculating. None of us know. We can throw out ideas. None of us really know. But my mind was going is like, okay, you got an all world talent like an Aaron Rodgers quarterback. Yes, you got to give them a little bit more of a keys to the keys to the car. Keys to the offense. You trust them to maybe adjust a little bit more, or because they always say Aaron's got like three different play calls going up to the line of scrimmage. But you kind of wonder now is like, I don't know. You can't take it away now. But I'm just sitting there, I'm like, those guys are able to do it. They've been doing it all season long and putting up numbers and moving the ball like that. I'm just like, why? Why couldn't Green Bay do that? But anyways, I was just like, I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, is it again like playing within the system, playing within the play call, doing the play that's called? But anyways, that could be another topic for another day, I guess. But Giants winning it, they looked that offense looked great. And I know it was Minnesota's defense, which Minnesota's defense has not been good, but shout out to Daniel Jones. Man, oh man. A lot of first time starts for quarterbacks this weekend in the postseason. First postseason starts. You had Brock Purdy, Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Herbert. Huntley, I believe that was his first one, right? With Baltimore over there too. So I mean, they're all across the board. So Giants getting that 31-24 victory. Now they face the Philadelphia Eagles, another division matchup. Got a lot of division teams going up against each other this past weekend too. The Bengals squeaking by against the Baltimore Ravens. Skylar Thompson, there's another quarterback too, getting his first start in the postseason. Credit to Miami. I mean, they were what? Would they go in that game 14-point underdogs? And Buffalo came out fast. Miami chipped away, took the lead at one point, and they were in it 34-31. But you can kind of see that inexperience down the stretch, delay of games, late call to the huddle. See that inexperience maybe from both quarterback and head coach slash play caller. But a hell of a lot closer than what a lot of us or a lot of people thought that game was going to be. So looking at maybe some of the underdogs here, I know I asked which underdog heading into the divisional weekend you think has the best chance to move on, and I think the majority would probably pick the Bengals. But if we take the Bengals out of that, and we're looking at Dallas, Giants, or the Jaguars, which of those three would you take? I think maybe people would probably pick the Cowboys, or maybe it's the Giants. I don't know too many people who would actually picked the Jaguars going into Kansas City and picking up that W. But I would think the majority are probably going to go either Giants or Dallas at this point. So, but I think if we kind of did a little like game balls from Super Wild Card Weekend, I give the shout out to well, I think the Cowboys because a lot of people just assume that it's Tom Brady and the Buccaneers that they were going to get the W over the Cowboys because it's the Cowboys when it gets to the playoffs. But they went out there and even with their kicker trying to screw it up with all those extra points missed, Cowboys were able. They looked pretty darn good last night. They looked pretty darn good. You got to give them credit. So if I had to give some game balls, I'd probably go with. Probably have to give it to maybe Dallas with the way that they beat Tampa. I picked Dallas to win it. I picked Dallas for the Super Bowl. I might. I don't know if I feel comfortable with that though anymore because I thought they'd be going up against Philly this weekend. San Francisco though with that defense, who. Um, and then I think another game ball, I'd probably give it to Brock Purdy. I mean, he looked fantastic this weekend, and that's kind of where my bench start cut. I'm like combining a lot of stuff in here with my bench start cut and probably my grind my gears Tuesday because leading into the playoff weekend, and it's been talked about kind of off and on throughout the season, towards the end of the season. But it's been, thrown out there, and it was thrown out there again before the game started on Saturday. I believe it was Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, that there's a real chance or there's a good thought that Brady could be with the 49ers next year. And we know that's his childhood team, the 49ers, right? We know that. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's like everybody's childhood team, apparently. But California kid. And that's been talked about off and on this year. So I guess first off, my bench start cut question to you all would be, all right, you're the 49ers, you're John Lynch, and you're Kyle Shanahan. Let's take Jimmy G off the table. I think he's probably gone. We had to narrow it down to three between Brady, Brock Purdy, and Trey Lance. Bench start cut. Or in this case, maybe bench start traded. If you pick one of those two, if you know what I mean. So Brady, Purdy, Lance for the 49ers. Who would you ride with? So I'll kind of save my grind my gears because my grind my gears kind of relates to this, but I'll save it for a little bit later on. But if you had to pick between those three, because I think the way that Brock Purdy has been playing it kind of takes Jimmy Garoppolo off the table. Like even if Brady doesn't come and they're going to go with Brock Purdy or Trey Lance, I think that takes Jimmy G off the table. But who knows at this point? But if we're just narrowing it down to three, who would you go with there? Bench start cut. Brock Purdy, Tom Brady, or Trey Lance. And remember, I mean, Bosa's going to get a big contract now. Nick Bosa. Had to factor that into it a little bit here. Deebo Samuel got his contract this past offseason. I don't know what kind of money they would give a guy like Brady to come over there. But, you got Trey Lance on a rookie deal and Brock Purdy, pretty darn cheap too. So think about that one for a little bit, and then you can hit me up with a tweet, Facebook, or comment on the video stream if you'd like there. You can make some early picks if you'd like for divisional round. We'll save the picks until later on this week for a football Friday. But I'm going to take a quick break, and then I want to hit up a little green and gold talk here as we continue our offseason scouting reports. We're going to take a look at the safeties, which is a position group that I think it could go a bunch of different ways at this point. Do you bring back everybody? Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage has his fifth-year option picked up. Unless they move on from him, regardless, he's more than likely going to be back. But is he a nickel corner? Can he make it work at safety? Does Rasul Douglas get moved to safety? I think you can see a case where either they run it back with Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage, or they don't bring any of those guys back, and you might have two brand new starters at safety next year. I think you can see it a bunch of different ways. But how would you do it? How would you do it? So we'll take a look at that. Plus, we got some Bucks chat coming up. The way Jordan Nora, my kind of question for you Bucks fans, would you like to see Jordan Nora involved more into the rotation? Because it seems like when he does get extended playing time, more times than not, he has contributed. Would you like to see him involved more in the rotation because you think it could maybe help the Bucks out? Or maybe it's because, yeah, I do because increases trade value. What do you think the plan should be with a kid like Jordan Nora for this Bucks team? And right now, with all the injuries, I mean, he's taking advantage of his minutes right now too. Bucks taking on the Raptors tonight at home before nice little 3-day break. I don't know if they'll play Giannis tonight or not, or maybe give him some extra rest with that knee before the game against Cleveland on Saturday. And hopefully Middleton's going to be close to returning as well. But we'll talk some Bucks coming up as well. So we'll take that break and then finish up the second hour already after these few words. All right, so we gave you the pop quiz question already, but in case you missed it, we'll give it to you again now, and then we'll give you the answer after the top of the hour. So again, try not to look it up, try not to cheat, have a little fun with this. But with the Cowboys and the 49ers set to face each other in a divisional round this weekend, how many times do you think those two teams faced each other in the postseason? And who has the all-time record, or do you think it's tied? Who has the all-time record, or do you think it's tied? So give me the record between these 2 teams when it comes to postseason play. Can hit me up with a text on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. All right, as we finish up this first hour here this morning, talking a little, well, let's continue our position scouting offseason scouting report, if you will, with the Packers and taking a look at different position groups and such. So we've already hit up coaches, QBs, defensive line, tight ends. Now we got safeties, which Adrian Amos is scheduled to be a free agent this year. He's got those voided years. Remember, last couple of years we've seen all these teams do it, voided years to kind of alleviate some of the cap space and that sort of stuff. But if you look at his market value, if the Packers do decide to bring back Adrian Amos, market value, according again to Spot Track, is a little over 6 million, $6.3 million per year. But if you use Pro Football Focus as a kind of a guide or a tool in the toolbox, well, his numbers have gone down. Pro Football Focus ratings have gone down the last couple of years there. And then, of course, you've got Darnell Savage, the other safety on there, which has been well, been up and down, right? Is he a nickel corner? Is he a safety? What type of role does he have for this team? And is Rasul Douglas, is he a guy that can transition into a safety spot? Kind of talked a little bit about it training camp last year, got a few snaps in training camp at safety, but never really saw that in the regular season. So I look at this group and I can see it where, hey, Green Bay decides to bring back Adrian Amos and, still keeping Darnell Savage at safety under his 5th year since they picked up the 5th year option. They run it back. I can see maybe if they go Darnell Savage and Rasul Douglas. I can see maybe if they bring back Adrian Amos and have somebody else. Or it's completely different in the back end. Completely different. I'm of the I'm of the notion of seeing what you got with Rasul Douglas at safety. I'd like to see that happen a little bit. See what we got there. I mean, obviously we know he's a playmaker with the ball, but with you kind of question, okay, body type, speed, can he hang with some of the receivers, some of the quicker receivers out there? Plays better when he can see and when his eyes are on the quarterback. I mean, he just seems like he would really maybe stand out or elevate as a safety, as a free safety. Whether Green Bay decides to do that or not, we'll see. That would be me. Adrian Amos, I don't think he'll be back next year. I don't unless it's fairly cheap. And 6.3 per year is not that bad, but with the team that's strapped with some cash and ugh, a little tight. And it's not like Green Bay has a whole lot of depth at the safety spot either. So you look at free agency. I mean, you've got some potential big names out there at safety spot. Jesse Bates with the Bengals. His market value though, about $10.6 million. Jordan Poyer for Buffalo. His market value, $11 million. Remember, they gave Micah Hyde a decent sized contract as well. And Jimmy Ward with San Francisco. I mean, you've got some names out there if you wanted to kind of maybe, get a top end safety. I don't see Green Bay going that route. I don't see it happening. And I see potentially maybe eyeing the draft like a day 2 type of pick where that's where they decide to go and get their other safety or create some depth back there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they, bring in a veteran kind of like that for a 1-year deal, kind of a stopgate sort of thing, fill in the hole there for a year. You got some guys out there you can do that with, whether it's if you want to go with Rounder, Terrell Edmonds over there from Pittsburgh. He's available potentially out there. Eric Rowe, maybe. So I could see Green Bay with that safety position, kind of maybe giving Rasul Douglas a shot over there. Eric Stokes coming back. You got Eric Stokes. You got Jair Alexander playing the perimeter corners. I got to imagine they're going to bring back Keyshawn Nixon, but now that price is going to get higher because he's an all-pro. He can play that nickel corner, that slot corner. You got Ford, who played well at safety, but, towards the end there was getting subbed out, was mostly brought on special teams. But I could see maybe the safety group is kind of an evolving thing next year for Green Bay. But I think there's a lot of unknowns with this group. And I really think the potential is going to be that it could be completely different. And slot corner too, that might be Darnell Savage. So I think it could be completely different. But I would like at least one solid dude back there. Yeah, you could put Ford and somebody else, but you need at least one solid dude out there. I would love another Nick Collins type. They won the Super Bowl with Nick Collins and Charlie Peppra as the other safety. No offense to Charlie Peppra, but remember Morgan Burnett was a 2nd or 3rd round pick that year, tore his ACL in preseason, I believe. It was supposed to be Nick Collins and Morgan Burnett. Burnett went down. Charlie Peppra filled in, and nicely, but it helped to have a guy like Nick Collins back there. Guy that could cover a lot of ground and do a lot of different things out there. Remember when they won Super Bowl 31? They had Leroy Butler, but they had to bring in Eugene Robinson to help out a little bit too. Safety play is crucial. You need at least one good one. You'd like to have a really good one and another solid one in the back end there. So they've got to get better safety play coming up in 2023. Really quick, Goody last week with his presser. Just a couple of highlights there. I mean, he kind of made it. Wish he would have just flat out said, yes, we want Aaron back. But he pretty much said it in so many different words that, they would like Aaron back. David Bakhtiari, sounds like he's going to be back. Aaron Jones, he kind of said, yeah, Aaron Jones is going to be back. But he didn't acknowledge that they're going to have to do some restructuring to bring him back to open up some cap space next year. But we'll hit up some more of that coming up after the top of the hour. But we've got Morgs in here for a couple minutes. Good morning, Morgan.
Kasper, how you doing?
I'm doing. How are you doing?
Have you ever signed up for an event? Like a lot of people are kicking around New Year's resolutions, that kind of thing, whatever, sign up for a 5K. Have you ever signed up for an event like marathon, half marathon, or polar plunge? I mean, any kind of athletic endeavor whatsoever?
No.
Okay.
No.
Would you?
No.
Okay,
we're not.
We're gonna kick it around. Think about it, but I'm talking extreme events because there's a group of marine scientists. Now they're training right now in Florida. They're planning to row 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, which I have a hard time rowing off the dock to maybe do some early morning fishing. That catches up with you fast. In your head, you're like, I'll just go out to the secret spot. And you get 2 or 3 minutes into it and you're like, hey, oh my God, I have a heart attack. Let's drop line here. Rowing's hard, right? But there are 4 women. They call themselves Salty Science. They're planning to compete in the 2023 Atlantic Challenge. Now, it's all part of raising money for conservation in the ocean and that kind of thing. So it's for a cause. But their plan is they're going to launch off the coast of northwestern Africa in early December. Then they row about 12 hours a day and cross the Atlantic in 45 days. You're shaking your head. No. 45. So you're more
Not
than
not
almost 2 calendar months.
little boat on a big ocean. Nope.
Okay, so what about all this other ultra stuff? Because you hear about, like the obviously triathlons are a big
Hmm.
deal with the swim, bike, run.
Iron
But
Man stuff. Yeah.
yeah, Ironman, it's kind of insane. But then you also hear about these ultra marathons. I was listening to this one ultra athlete that ran through extreme conditions. So basically you do upwards of triple digits, like 100 miles, but you subject yourself to these extreme conditions. One of them was in Antarctica, which I'm like, how do you even find out about something? Like, how do you
Yeah.
get there, find out about it? The other one was through the desert. So if you had to pick an extreme sport to get behind, would you be like an ultra distance guy for endurance? Would you do like the Tough Mudder? Like, would you do
Can I do the one where they do sometimes where you gotta do like 100 holes of golf in like 12 hours?
that? Doesn't sound very extreme.
That's probably the amount of extreme I could get.
Yeah, the drinking that goes along with it, depending on who's manning
Gotta
up the golf
last. It's
cart.
endurance. You
Uh
get
huh.
tired after 18 holes.
Walking all
So
those holes, beer
yeah,
in one hand, club in the other.
that's probably the highest endurance I could go.
I'm
You
gonna
would
take.
not get me on a little boat in the big body of water though.
So to you, that's way the lowest one on the
Yeah,
list.
because
Doing anything in the
sharks,
ocean.
whales, no.
Well, especially if you've read Unbreakable or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like you automatically think of sharks coming up over the side of it. So, okay, water's out.
yeah.
What's the most you would do in a distance run? 5K, half marathon, marathon, or
5K.
that's your limit?
Yeah.
Just once around the block.
Yep.
Do like the fun run
Yep.
with the dog.
Like I would probably do the Michael Scott's
Oh, for rabies.
rabies, sort of thing.
You
Yeah.
got to carb up and then puke at the finish
Yep.
line.
The
Yeah.
Alfredo.
And instead of making it a circle
I've
for the
done
loop.
that. I've done that before basketball practice. It was like our first
No.
one, so it was a lot of running. I
Yeah.
carved up and I puked. It was college.
It's a
I didn't know any different.
It's a
So
bad idea. Very
no,
rarely does eating a huge amount of food right before you do something super physical pan out well.
yeah, it was
You're gonna end
embarrassing.
up, yeah,
It was
you're
embarrassing.
in the bushes yakking.
No.
Someone's holding your hair for sure.
All right, second hour kicking off on this Grind My Gears Tuesday. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. We're going to get to some more Green and Gold chat a little bit later on. We've got some Bucks chat coming up too. Bucks fans, want to talk a little bit about Jordan Nora. Threw out that question earlier in case you missed it. Would you like to see Jordan Nora involved more into the rotation for the Bucks, or maybe because you think he can be a contributor? Because more times than not, when he's actually had some extended playing time, he's taken advantage of that. Or maybe you're like, yeah, give him more playing time to increase his trade value. What do you think? Bucks going to be taking on the Raptors after getting the victory yesterday afternoon against the Pacers with no Giannis in the game, but it was Drew Holiday leading the way for the Bucks yesterday. So we got some more Badgers talk coming up as well. Badger Hoops, they're in action tonight, taking on Penn State. Badger Hoops have lost 3 in a row. Sounds like Tyler Wall has been returning to practice or doing some things at practice, still kind of day to day at this point. But the Badgers for sure can really use Tyler Wall back in that lineup. So, and then we'll talk some more Badger football with RJ Cardinal. Coming up about coming up at about 8:30. 8:30. So, all right, let's do some sports nuggets of the day here this morning. I thought I had a key for sports nuggets. Apparently not. Anyways, sports nuggets of the day here this morning brought to you by ANSI Associates. 1916, the Professional Golfers Association was formed in New York City. 1916 PGA. We've got not a whole lot here. Rams 95 announced that they would be moving to St. Louis. 1999, not a good day this year, or that day in 1999 for Vikings fans. The Atlanta Falcons beat the Minnesota Vikings to advance to the Super Bowl for the first time in team history. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day. Again, brought to you by ANSI Associates. Let's go with Grind My Gears Tuesday. We had first, before we get to that, your pop quiz question of the day. I asked you, how many times have the Cowboys and the 49ers faced each other in the postseason, and what is the record? I was a little surprised. I thought it would have been a little bit more, but it's been 8 times, and the Cowboys have a 5-3 record against the 49ers. In fact, when you look at all of their matchups, 6 of the 8 times so far, it'll be 9 this weekend, but 6 of their 8 matchups have been in NFC championship games. First one, 1971, the NFC championship. Cowboys won that one 17-10. 1972. Cowboys won that one. Then you've got the later on that. So that NFC championship game was on January 2nd, 1972. Then you had the NFC divisional, which was on December 23rd, 1972. And the following season, they won that one. Then 1982, the NFC championship. 49ers won that one, 28-27. NFC championship, 1993, 93, 94, 95. 3 straight NFC championship matchups. Dallas won the first 2. Then the 49ers won the last one in 95. And then you had the NFC wildcard last year, where San Francisco won that one. So the last 2, San Francisco's on a 2-game winning streak in the postseason against the Cowboys right now. Can they make it 3 in a row? But just I thought it would have been double digits, but just 8 times. We'll be 9 after this weekend. So that's your pop quiz answer for this morning. Did get a couple people saying 8 total, but nobody got the record correct. A lot of people going with the 49ers with their picks. Couple ties on there too. All right, let's go with Surveyor Sam for his Grind My Gears Tuesday. Good morning, DK. I'll tell you what grinds my gears. Vikings fans, all of you are extremely hurt about your team losing, and we as Packers fans understand about potential and not live into that potential better than anyone. But you trying to attack Packers fans on social media is just a low and pathetic move. Instead of you yelling at your defense because Daniel Jones looked like Michael Vick out there, you post tweets like, at least we're not Packers fans, or hey, how'd the Packers go into playoffs? Grow up and admit that your team was trash all year and got extremely lucky all year. Whew. All right. Surveyor coming in hot on a Grind My Gears Tuesday. I wanted to ask this question, and I might as well ask it now, because Monday morning, yesterday, I mean, there was a lot of talk. I shouldn't say a lot of talk, but there was the topic out there from some national shows out there. And I honestly don't know. Like, I guess I'm kind of looking for some guidance, because one of the questions posed out there was like, are the Vikings, or the Vikings fan base, like the most, I don't want to say jinxed. But there's like, let me bring it up. So it was Up and Adams. So Kay Adams. She used to be on Good Morning Football. She has her own show now on FanDuel. But the question that she posed out there yesterday on her show was about was the Vikings, and she had asked. Let me bring it up here. I just wanted to see if I can bring it up. Is there a more tortured NFL fan base than the Minnesota Vikings? Was her question. 31 playoff appearances, 0 Super Bowl wins. They did appear in a few Super Bowls. So my question, and try to take, I know it's going to be hard, but try to take away your angst or your hate for a division rival. Try to push that to the side if you're a Packers fan. But what would you define as maybe the most like tortured fan base? So I was thinking about this, and I'm like, okay, but they've at least been to a few Super Bowls, whereas teams like the Lions, they haven't. So would that be more of a tortured fan base? But then, I was kind of going through some of the comments on Twitter, and a lot of people were throwing out like the Lions and the Browns on there. But some people were saying too is like, well, at least with like the Lions, they've never had those high expectations, maybe, or they never had those teams that on a consistent basis where, we've seen the Vikings go 15-1. We just mentioned that NFC Championship game loss to the Falcons, right? They've had those teams that looked like they could go to a Super Bowl, maybe potentially win a Super Bowl, but they've all fallen short. That's more of a definition of a tortured fan base, that they keep teasing you that they've got a good team, that they're going to, go this far, that they're going to maybe potentially go to a Super Bowl, and they always fall short. So my question, I quote, tortured fan base, a team, if you're a fan of a team that like plays really well in the regular season, has a great regular season record, looks like they can maybe make a run, but always fall short in the playoffs, a team that always falls short in the playoffs, or is it a team that never regularly gets to the postseason and never really has a shot at it? Because in my first mind, I was like, I mean, the Lions have been around for a while. They've been around longer than the Vikings. I mean, they're almost 100 years old right now. They started off in 1930. They haven't been to a Super Bowl. They've got 4 league championships before the merger, 1935, 1952, 1953, and 1957. They've only gotten, if you want to look at division championships, you got to go back to the NFC Central, 83, 91, 93. 21 playoff appearances, but that includes the 30s. 32, 35, 52, 53, 54, 57, 60, 61, 62, 70, 82, 83, 91, 93, 94, 95, 97, 99, 2011, 2014, 2016. So how would you define like a tortured fan base? I guess is what I'm trying to go up, because I was reading some of the back and forths on there, and I know a couple of other national shows were kind of talking about it too, with Minnesota's loss out there. But would you define that tortured fan base as a fan of a team that gets close, or they get your hopes up maybe after having a good regular season, good record-wise regular season, and then fall short in the playoffs? Or is it that team that just consistently can't get to the postseason? You get excited about draft picks. You got high draft picks. But for some reason, they just never seem to work out, right? That might be like kind of a Browns thing there. And you go to the Browns, they were established. I mean, Lions are older than the Browns, for crying out loud. Browns were established in 1944. They've got 8 league championships. If you talk about like the AAFC, that was in the 40s, and the NFL championships 50, 54, 55, 64. At least they've got a few more division championships in the old school AFC Central than what the Lions do. So I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that, okay? Hit me up with a text 715 830 1912 on that Shoe Doctors Bullpen line, or on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. What would you define as a tortured fan base? Is a tortured fan base? Is it that fan base that's so close, or one that doesn't even have a shot at it? And try to, if you can, the best of your ability, take away your rival hate, dislike of that team. I'm just kind of curious how you would define that, because I think that's where you kind of have to define it there a little bit. But it was interesting kind of reading some of the comments, because, again, my first thought was, oh, it's the Lions. But then it's like, oh, but, you get your hopes up, and then when it gets to the postseason, it just kind of falls flat. And we're talking just straight up like because some people could expand upon it, be like, well, if you look at maybe Minnesota as a whole, at least they've had a couple of World Series trophies, championships, compared to, whereas their Vikings obviously don't have Super Bowl championships, but at least the Twins got a couple of them. Brewers haven't. You know what I mean? I guess if we're just kind of focusing on just one sport, so maybe in this exercise, maybe let's kind of focus on the NFL. Let's look at football here. So let's kind of just keep it straight on football, if you could. Interesting. A couple, just kind of catching up on a couple of texts beforehand. Kind of going back to one of our things when we were talking about the NFC wild card recap, and that's any of the underdogs. Who would you give the best shot at pulling off the W? A lot of people going with the Cowboys. Got a couple of Giants out there, but a lot of people going with the Cowboys over the 49ers. And I threw out your bench start cut in case you missed it. In case you missed it, it was early in the first hour, so I'll hit it up right now. Bench start cut actually relates to the 49ers. And before the playoffs started this weekend, and it was kind of talked about, throughout the season, especially at the end of the season. But, like, could Tom Brady actually go to the 49ers? Tom Brady is a free agent, right? And I believe it was Ian Rappaport on the NFL Network kind of talks about there's decent chance, there's a good chance that maybe Brady does play for the 49ers next year. So my bench start cut question is, all right, and maybe it's more of a bench start trade right now. I think Jimmy G is off the table here, especially with the play of Brock Purdy. I think the odd man out in this whole thing is probably going to be Jimmy G. So you're John Lynch, GM of the 49ers. You're Kyle Shanahan, head coach of the 49ers. Your bench start cut is making a move for Tom Brady and signing him in free agency. Going back to Trey Lance, the guy that you traded a lot of draft capital up to move up in the draft a couple years ago, was the starter to open up this year, got hurt. Or do you keep Brock Purdy because of the way he's been playing? He's the starter going into it. You're handing him the ball. Bench start cut. Who you benching, who you starting, and who you cutting, or maybe trading. Brady, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy. San Francisco 49ers. This does relate to my grind my gears here a little bit, but I'll save that. Coming up, let's say the back end of this hour. So, along with some Bucks chat on there too. We'll take a quick break though. Keep your thoughts coming. Hit me up with a text, tweet, Facebook, whatever floats your boat. We'll be back after these words. Starting next week, we'll have our first episode of our new video digital series, Timeout, which is geared for the youngsters out there. Think like a little SI for kids sort of thing and that sort of good stuff. But so one thing we want to do though is we want to feature some of the youngsters out there locally, whether it's for sports, academics, got a sweet hobby or anything like that. We want to feature them, but we need your help, parents and guardians. So just head to sportstalk1051.com, click on the enter and win tab, and you'll see that form up there. You'll see the icon for timeout. Click on that. Give us a nomination. And then if we select that kiddo, we'll reach out to you and get a little bit more info on that. But we want to kind of highlight, K through 8, kindergarten through 8th grade there. But it should be a lot of fun. Again, this will be a digital series up on the socials like Facebook, Instagram, little TikTok, and at our website at sportstalk1051.com. We got a few already in there, but pass the word along. And that should be a lot of fun over there, too. A lot of people sending in teams who they think have been the most tortured. But kind of my question, I want to go back to the question, when you define most tortured fan bases out there, do you define it by, like, again, a team that maybe gets your hopes up and falls flat on their face, or a team that just doesn't have any sort of shot or just never really consistently have any sort of shot? So, Joel, I'll ask you that question, because on Monday, a lot of people were kind of talking on a national sense that the Vikings are the most tortured fan base out there, 31 playoff appearances. They've been to a few Super Bowls, but got 0 wins. Is it something like that? Or is it like a Lions team that have been around for almost 100 years and they've never been to a Super Bowl? In fact, their only championships or league championships, you got to go before the merger. What do you got to say?
I think you got to go with the Vikings, a team like that. I think if you never make the playoffs, you become the lovable losers, and it's something that that you can wear that a little bit as far as that moniker. But I think if you're a team like the Vikings, again, they now have the most playoff losses in NFL history, and they are now the longest standing franchise without a Super Bowl or an NFL championship. And so, yeah, I think it's the Vikings. They are good enough to get your hopes up, but never good enough to close the deal. And so I definitely think you have to look at that team and you say, yeah, most tortured franchise. Again, if you're the Lions, if you're a group like that, you just don't ever get your hopes up. And so you're not really tortured at that point. It's kind of like it is what it is. It's kind of how I feel right now about the Brewers, because given the competitive landscape and the competitive dynamics and financial dynamics of baseball, I just don't see how Milwaukee can ever win a World Series. And so I really never get my hopes up. And so, yeah, I would say Minnesota. And I mean, you're seeing things out there, worst 13-win team ever, and those types of things. And really, I think Minnesota's got a lot of question marks coming into this offseason, $20 million over the cap, and some aging positions on that defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, I would go definitely. If you're talking torture, you've got to get your hopes up to be tortured. And Viking fans certainly almost every year get their hopes up.
Anything surprise you from Super Wildcard Weekend, or kind of play out to what you expected?
What was really kind of, in my opinion, what was highlighted, especially in the Jacksonville Charger game, is experience at the head coaching position. And Dougie P, I think, just does a tremendous job. And Brandon Staley, I think, in my opinion, is one of the worst coaches in the NFL. But I think you get to the playoffs, you get to this level, and I think playoff experience at the coaching position matters. And look, it certainly matters at the quarterback position too. But you look at the ages right now. If I'm not mistaken, the ages of the quarterbacks left in the playoffs, I believe Dak is the oldest at 29. And so, the old guard not making any kind of a run. Obviously, Green Bay didn't make it with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Tom Brady now out. And so, this is a young man's game. You're seeing some young quarterbacks come to play in the playoffs. But also, I think those experienced coaches, it certainly says something when you see what's happening in some of the games from that coaching position as well.
What with the divisional matchups now set, is there a game that has you intrigued the most when you look at the matchups for this weekend?
It's interesting. I like that Eagle Giant game. I do. I think that's got some potential because I just don't quite know if the Eagles are what we think they might be, and so I I think the Chiefs are going to have more of a game against the Jags than maybe they think, and so I think that one's going to. Look, I think they've all got narratives and they've all got stories. Cowboys, 49ers. You go back to the days when that rivalry was big, and so I think that's going to be a good game. I think these are going to be four, I think, really good football games, and I don't see one game where you can say unequivocally that team has got a decidable edge over the other one. I think you really could have any combination of these four games this week. But I think there's going to be a lot of good football, and I'm just looking forward to it in this divisional round of the playoffs. And again, I really want to see right now. Look, I think everyone, is kind of a Bills fan right now with what they went through with Hamlin and everything. But I will tell you, I'm rooting for Daniel Jones. I think that kid's made himself a lot of money this season and against the Vikings the other day. And so, yeah, I think good football games good narratives, good storylines. This is what football is all about. When you get to this level in this round and you're down to what you consider the true Super Bowl contenders, this is where football gets good.
Joe, I wanted to, you mentioned Daniel Jones a couple times, and watching that Giants and Vikings game, and I was talking to a buddy of mine watching. I mean, credit to Daniel Jones, but like Darius Slayton and that receiving group, they were continuously getting open. And I know it was Minnesota's pass defense and such, but you look at the season, the full together season, what the Giants were able to do on offense with, at the beginning of the year, nobody expected them to do anything. And I'm just like, why couldn't Green Bay do that? Why couldn't they, with that receiving group and Aaron Jones, do something similar? Is it because that's the difference between a quarterback maybe playing within the game plan or playing within the play calls? We know Aaron goes to that line of scrimmage with 3 different plays that he can kind of adjust to. Why can't Green Bay do what Brian Dable and the Giants have been able to do this year with that offense?
You know what? It's a great question, and I alluded to this, and again, I don't want to be bashing LaFleur, but I think Brian Dable is the kind of guy, is the kind of coach that you want to run through a wall for. But I also think that there's accountability, and I think that there's a level of accountability with that Giant team right now that you're just seeing. Players are holding each other accountable, coaches are holding each other accountable. And that is, if I had one question with Matt LaFleur, I think it's accountability. I think Matt LaFleur has made some bad choices and maybe has not held players as accountable. But is it Rodgers? Is Rodgers part of the problem at this point? I think the Rodgers LaFleur mix is a little bit part of the problem. But I do think when you've got a coach who doesn't hold players accountable, and then you've got a quarterback who, by all rights and by all means, should have the ability to change the plays at the line of scrimmage and to audible and those types of things. I mean, look, we're not talking – Aaron Rodgers is not T.J. Rubley. I mean, this is a guy who has earned the right, I think. And over the years, people have talked about how smart he is. So, yeah, is that part of the problem? But I think also the accountability or lack thereof from the Packer coaching staff, I think, is there as well. I think a big thing with the Packer offense that I think none of us realized how important it was going to be is the moving around of coaches. When Hackett and Getsy left and Steno and Butkus were moved up, I think that affected things. And so I think Matt LaFleur, and of course, there's rumblings out there that Matt might bring on his little brother Mike to help out with the offense, which I am dead against. I do not want that move. But I think he needs another pair of eyes on that offensive side of the ball. And again, I've said this as long as you and I have been talking, Captain. I don't believe the head coach should be the play caller, and I think that distracts from the total game. So, yeah, you add all of these things up, whether it be Rodgers, accountability, coaching moves, and you've got an offense that just could not click this year. And when you see a team like the Giants do it, you do scratch your head and say, why didn't the Packers do this? Why couldn't they do this in 2022?
And, kind of going back to that coach and play caller thing, maybe a perfect example is the ending of that Dolphins and Bills game. I know it was a third string quarterback, but, late huddle breaks, late play calls. Mike McDaniel thought they had a first down. I mean, there's a perfect example right there, maybe where the head coach shouldn't be a play caller in that situation.
Absolutely. I've said it all along, and it's interesting when you look at the coaches that are left in the playoffs right now. All of the head coaches have an offensive pedigree, and so I thought that was a little bit interesting from that standpoint. But again, I think I am hoping LaFleur learned some things this year about the nuances of being a head coach when you don't have the talent to carry you. Because again, I go back to before the season when Matt LaFleur says that 80% of the offense ran through 12 and 17. That's a problem to me. And now no 17, 12 not being, 12 getting older. I mean, and we saw it with Rodgers, we saw it with Brady, we saw it with Wilson, we saw it with Matt Ryan this year. These guys are hitting that wall. Then you've got to, you can't rely on players to make plays. You've got to rely on the offense to make plays. And so I'm hoping LaFleur has learned a lot. But yeah, it is a head scratcher when you see a team like the Giants able to move up and down the field against the Vikings and the way that they were able to click, and that receiving core that was basically a nondescript receiving core making plays at the end of the game. So yeah, as it translates, you watch these playoff teams right now and you realize this Packer team is both close to being one of them, but also pretty far away. There's a lot of work to be done, but there's also some pieces there that can put this team back in a position to be in the playoffs.
Would you be okay then if Nathaniel Hackett came back and was the play caller for the offense next year?
You know what? I don't. Yes, to a certain extent. Is it a question of with Nathaniel Hackett? I thought that was just a mismatch all along in Denver. And look, let's be honest. I thought Nathaniel Hackett was hired to recruit Aaron Rodgers. And when Aaron Rodgers said no, they went to Plan B, and Russell Wilson was their Plan B. And so, yeah, I would not mind Hackett coming back. I think that'd be a much better move than Mike LaFleur. And if they do give up the play calling, that'd be okay with me. But again, the caveat being, and again, whoever's calling the offense, a big part of that is going to be who's at quarterback. Is it 12? Is it 10? Or is it going to be somebody else? And again, until we know this as fans, until the organization knows, then it's really hard to start building a structure around what you have, because you're going to have significantly different quarterbacks if it's 12 or 10.
Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. Joe, we continued our off-season kind of look at different position groups with Green Bay, and this morning we were talking a little bit about the safeties, which to me is an intriguing group this offseason. Adrian Amos is a free agent. If you look at his Pro Football Focus ratings the last couple of years, they've actually gone down. We know about Darnell Savage. Is he a safety? Is he a slot guy? Rasul Douglas, I think you and I agree. I'd like to see him at safety, but I could see a situation where, Joe, next year they've got two completely different safeties. Maybe they got one of them. Maybe they're bringing both back. I don't know. How would you kind of go about with this safety group this offseason and addressing that position?
Well, when you look at the salary cap of the Green Bay Packers, and they're already with just everything. And again, it's not a panic statement, but it is what it is. With everything you're going to need this coming year, the Packers are a good $40 million or so over the cap already. I mean, if you just look at it today, they're already $14 million over the cap, but then you're not taking into consideration, your rookies and et cetera, et cetera. And so you look at that and you say, yeah, can you bring Amos back? You could bring Amos back, I think, for a reduced contract type of situation. But I think one of your safeties has to be Douglas. And you just look at how Douglas plays when they're in a zone as opposed to a man-to-man when he's got the ball and the quarterback in front of him. And I think Douglas is just a better player. So I do think he's one of those safeties. I do think Darnell Savage needs to possibly be looked at that slot. And then I think that's a position that you go out and you draft and you make that a priority. When you look at the draft board right now as it's shaping up for the Green Bay Packers, I think you're always going to be looking at the trenches. So you're always going to be looking at offensive and defensive linemen. But I think you have to look at that safety position. I think you have to look at that edge position. I think the depth there, not very strong. And, of course, Rashawn Gary coming back from the injury. Then you have to look at the tight end position. And so those, I think, are the priorities right there. So, yeah, it could be conceivable. I wouldn't be surprised at all if your safeties to start the year this year are Douglas and someone else, player to be named later, could be a rookie, could be maybe a stopgap free agent. But, yeah, that's a position that really hurt the Green Bay Packers this year. And I'd like to see Douglas play safety, and I'd like to see Darnell Savage Jr. at that slot position.
All right, Joe, we got the playoff divisional rounds this weekend. What are your picks? Let's start with the Giants and Eagles, another division match. A lot of division matchups in the wild card weekend here, too, but we got another one. Giants, Eagles. Who do you like in that one?
You know what? I'm going to say I think the Giants have a little bit of mojo going right now, and that's going to be my upset.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Eagles have some holes, and so I'm going with the Giants. I'm gonna pick them with the upset, and I think Brian Dable's got it clicking over there on both sides of the ball. So I'm excited to see that game. I think the New York Football Giants pull out the upset.
Do you think Mike McCarthy will be dancing again after last night in the locker room as the Cowboys visit the 49ers in San Francisco?
You know what, Dak Prescott, and give credit where credit is due, probably one of his best games of his NFL career last night. Looked very much in control outside of the kicking game. Dallas really, really did a nice job last night. No, I think the 49ers, I think they're the cream of the crop of the NFC. And I think in this game, Kyle Shanahan comes out and beats Big Mike in that 49er Cowboy game. So I see the Giants winning against the Eagles and the 49ers being the Cowboys.
So really quick, let me ask you, I know before the weekend started, and there was rumblings about this rumor out there, but I believe it was Ian Rappaport that said it. There could be a real possibility that Tom Brady plays for the 49ers next year. All right, you're the 49ers. You go Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Tom Brady, or Jimmy G. Who do you give the starting ball to?
Well, you gave up so much for Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And you really did, but it was obvious they felt with Jimmy G that Trey Lance wasn't ready this year. And so if you have an opportunity to bring Tom Brady and you have the rest of that team and the pieces of that team together, they've really done a nice job of building around whoever the quarterback is. I think if you have the opportunity for Brady, I don't think it's Jimmy G. I'll tell you that. Let me erase Jimmy G. I think he does finally move on. And so I think it comes down to Purdy or Trey Lance. But if you have an opportunity to bring Tom Brady in, and you're that team with the other positions you have filled, you bring him in. And so I can't make any predictions. But if you can make the move for Brady, you probably make the move for Brady. I still wouldn't put it past a reuniting of Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints and Tom Brady ending up there.
Interesting. All right, AFC really quick. We've got the Chiefs and Jaguars. Doug Peterson going up against his mentor Andy Reid.
Yeah, two great coaches, two great guys. Outstanding NFL people. But I think it's going to be a good football game. But I see the Kansas City Chiefs winning that one.
And then Bills and Bengals, which I'm sure is going to be a game full of a lot of emotions in that one.
Yeah, Bills gave us all a scare against the Dolphins, and I think you nailed it when you talked about some of the coaching decisions and moves at the end of the game. So Miami could have pulled that one out. Bills not looking the best right now, but I give it to the Bills. So I think you got the Bills and the Chiefs coming down to the AFC Championship game,
which will be in Hotlanta. Neutral sites right there. So
and there you go.
Boy.
There you go. And so, yeah, it's playing out that way. And again, I think it's going to be good football this weekend. I am looking forward to it with these four teams, and I'm excited about it. And this is playoff football. You saw some things this last weekend that kind of gave you a taste of it. I think it's going to even be even better this weekend. So looking forward to it. And of course, already working, Captain, and I know you are as well, because as soon as the Super Bowl's over, I know you and I start talking draft and free agency and everything else. So it's a 52-week job covering the NFL, and we're coming down to the end of the wire of this season, but next season starts right away.
Absolutely, man. So, hey, appreciate the time here this morning. I know I kept you a little longer, so appreciate it. Have yourself a good week, and we'll catch up next week with you, bud.
All right, Captain. Take care, brother.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, chatting a little green and gold, chatting a little football. We got to take a quick break. Let's get to more Bucks talk. Bucks taking on the Raptors after picking up the W yesterday against the Pacers. I want to talk a little Jordan Nora. That's coming up after this break. A new year means it's time for some new floors. Start your 2023 off in style with that brand new floor from Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. Wisconsin's largest flooring supplier, Carpet City Flooring Center has the perfect floor that will rejuvenate that space of yours. That's, let's face it, probably has needed and upgraded for a bit now. You can choose from many different styles and options, including the Rigid Max floors. I like to think of Rigid Max floors as the official floor of Wisconsin. Can we get one of those proclamations maybe saying that or so? But Rigid Max floors are freeze and thaw stable, waterproof, kid and pet friendly, superior noise reduction, extreme dent, impact, and scratch resistant. If that doesn't scream the official floor of Wisconsin, then I don't know what the heck does. And it comes in many different styles like the Bourbon Barrel, which is my favorite. And Rigid Max floors are only available at Carpet City Flooring Center. You can see them for yourself by stopping by today and chatting with the incredible staff at Carpet City Flooring Center. They're there to answer any questions you may have from selecting the floor that works best for you, your home, and your budget. So start off the year with a new floor from the best in the biz, Carpet City Flooring Center, right here in Eau Claire. Bucks will be back in action tonight after picking up the W yesterday afternoon against the Indiana Pacers with the day game. No Giannis yesterday, no Chris Middleton. It was Drew Holiday leading the charge for the Bucks, finishing with over 30 points, 35 to be exact, 11 assists, kind of putting the team on his back there. Brook Lopez helping out with 19. Bobby Portis getting the start in replacement of Giannis. He contributed 21 points and 11 boards. Grayson Allen, 17. Jordan Nora coming off the bench, 4 for 4 from 3, 14 points in 23 minutes of action. Now, Jordan Nora has been a guy that has been talked about even before the season started as a potential trade candidate, part of a package maybe for a trade. He's been talked about that since even before the season started. And you look at his last couple of games here. Go back to Miami, 28 minutes of action, 16 points. Yesterday, 23 minutes of action, 14 points. It seems like when he has gotten extended playing time, he's put up some good numbers. He's put up some solid numbers. So far season, he is shooting 41.6% from 3. That's kind of been the one that has really stuck out so far this year. 41.6% from 3. And last night, going 4 for 4, obviously does help boost that up just a little bit there. But when you kind of look at some of his other games where he has had extended playing time, he's kind of made an impact coming off the bench. So my question would be to you, Bucks fans, would you like to see Jordan Nora involved more in the rotation, and being that he's one of the first players coming off the bench or, part of that bench rotation, because you think he can be a contributor and help the ball club win some games, especially, with Giannis dealing with some knee soreness, Chris Middleton obviously dealing with his knee injury, and then, just a couple other hiccups here there. Would you like to see him get more playing time because you think it'll help boost his trade stock? Or maybe you're just not a Jordan Nora fan and you don't give a rip. I don't know what the plan is going to be by the trade deadline. I still feel like he's probably going to be one of those players that is going to be included in a package for another player. I feel like that's going to be the case. He has stepped up in big moments for the Bucks. But I think the Bucks grab a player, acquire a player that can be a consistent presence off the bench for you, or maybe even that starting lineup, depending on who you get. But if you have that ability to put together a package that will bring in a player that will be a consistent threat, whether it's like Bogdanovich from the Pistons that people are kind of talking about, maybe a Crowder from the Suns, I think you still have to deal with that. The way Jordan Nora has been playing extended periods, maybe hopefully boosts his stock a little bit in terms of, trade packages. Maybe you don't have to add that extra second round pick on there or whatever have you. It's not like you're going to swap Nora for a starter. It's not to that level. But if he's giving you some quality minutes and giving you some production off the bench right now at this point in time when some Bucks players are a little bit banged up, that's a bonus. But it would make him a little bit more appealing to some potential trade partners out there, whoever that may be. Suns, Pistons, who knows? Trade deadline coming up February 9th. Got a couple weeks yet to play this out. So, my opinion, just mine, I think if you can include Jordan Nora into a package that will give you a player that could be a consistent impact player, whether it's that starter or maybe one of your 6 men off the bench, I think you still have to make that move. I think you still got to make that move right now. I mean, there's other players. I mean, we've kind of seen some weird rotations for the Bucks this year, right? Bocham getting in, the rookie getting in the starting lineup once in a while, sometimes coming off the bench, sometimes not even playing. Kind of been a little bit out there. Serge Ibaka, there's some talk about he's frustrated with the lack of his playing time. That's why he's been missing some games for personal reasons. But as he mentioned too, it's kind of hard to get on the court when Brook Lopez is maybe playing at an all-star defensive player of the year level this year. He's acknowledged that. But we'll see if Giannis plays tonight. He went through a pregame routine yesterday. His typical pregame routine looked like he was going to play, but Mike Budenholzer electing to keep it safe and held him out. We'll see if that means he's going to keep him out for this game because the Bucks do have 3 nights off after tonight before a big game against Cleveland on Saturday. Or maybe they'll get a little action in. Maybe we'll get a Chris Middleton sighting this weekend. Maybe, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Who knows? All right, 2 in. We got 1 more to go. We'll be back after this news update. All right, third hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning. Appreciate you tuning in wherever and however you may be tuning in. We're going to catch up with RJ Cardinal at the bottom of the hour with some Badgers. Badger Hoops taking on Penn State tonight. Good thing Kyle's not in. We might have to do some trash talking there with that.
He's fired up, I'm sure.
So we'll talk about that and the football program for the Badgers, some more recruits or transfer portals and some coaches coming aboard. So we'll keep you updated on that with RJ coming up at the bottom of the hour. But fresh off of, I guess, a little bit from US Bank Stadium, watching his Giants get the W against Minnesota. Coach Casey.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
So was that your first playoff game for football that you've gone to in person?
You know what? It might be. I don't think I went to any of I didn't go to any of the games the couple of years that they won the Super Bowl, but I was in the second year I was playing hockey in Brooklyn, so we were there around it. But yeah, I think that might be my first playoff football game.
Yeah, what was the environment like over there?
It was really cool. I mean, had 3 buddies that flew out from back home, and it's just so funny. Minnesota, everyone is so people were so nice. We were decked out in all of our Giants gear, and
don't say that, man. You can't say that about Vikings fans. Come on, no.
But everyone, they were like, when is someone gonna give me the finger or tell me to go, and everyone was like, hey, good luck today, my friend. They were just so. But yeah, it was great. Atmosphere was great. Stadium is incredible. I mean, crowd was really loud, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great game.
Yeah, now you got your division. Right? Who is your division?
Can't say the same about going to a game in Philly. That's not true.
Who is your biggest rival for you personally? Is it Cowboys? Is it Eagles? I don't feel like anybody's as the Commanders at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably Philly.
Yeah.
There's been some tough games that we've lost to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks to the Eagles in 2010, they with that punt return, that's what got Green Bay into the postseason.
Was that Deshaun Jackson?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my God, that's a scar for sure. Matt Dodge. Oh my God, what a year he had.
Right.
Guy. But I don't know. I think it's going to be. I mean, the Giants proved to play pretty well on Sunday, so it should be a good game. I mean, Philly's pretty deep, but I don't know, division games, we'll see. In Dable we trust. I mean, it's crazy what a
coach,
what a head coach and a GM can can do to a team. I mean, the team is arguably a lot of the same guys.
Exactly.
So and they were a dumpster fire. So whatever.
So what did I see? I think the number was they signed 3 free agents in the offseason. One of them was a backup quarterback.
Yeah, and they had the draft, right? They had Thibodeau and a couple other guys who have made an impact.
Right.
But yeah, just the mindset and culture and speaks to it a lot about what he's been able to do.
Yeah, you mentioned the culture. Maybe it started week 1 going for that 2 to win.
I mean, it's just having a certain outlook on how he's going to do things. And I mean, they went for it 3 or 4 times. He's not even flinching. He knows, he wants to go out and win the game. Like that's, you got to respect that. And I like taking charge of the game. I feel like we do that. I do that sometimes, like pulling the goalie early. I don't know, what's the difference? We lose 7-3 or 5-3, whatever. I don't. Those goals don't matter.
Right.
You're trying to score to get us back in it. That's kind of the way I look at it, and I really like his aggressiveness. So.
Yeah, so should be a good one. I'm kind of rooting for you guys this weekend, so that might be.
This is kind of our story here, sneak in and see what happens.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So, all right, off week for you guys this last week, which was actually perfect timing because. Well, you got your wisdom teeth pulled out, so it was perfect time for that, and
good timing for everybody. And
I know Kyle was kind of talking about I know you talked about 2 weeks before, a little bug kind of going through the locker room. Do you think everybody's kind of on the mend?
Yeah, it feels like we're pretty healthy now, healthiest we've been in a while. So, yeah, it's just bizarre, right? We have the break, the 10-day break, and you expect to come back and be healthy and ready to go, and. I mean, it was anything but that when we got back, and to have our, essentially our one off weekend of the second half, like the third weekend of the season. I was
Right.
like kind of upset about that, but you know, it's funny how things line up sometimes,
Right.
and able to, you know, just reset and get healthy, and now we start, you know, kind of our charge here for the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with is it a home and away against the Wilderness
Correct.
this weekend?
Yep.
So first one's away, then second one's at home.
We're
right?
we're home Friday, in Cloquet Saturday.
Okay, gotcha. So so you got the Wilderness coming up here. How does that affect you guys when you got a home and away like that, or just because it's so close it doesn't really matter at that point?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this is kind of what we're used to. Like with
Mm-hmm.
the Magicians being in Minneapolis, we were always home and
Right.
home with them. Typically Janesville, we're home and home. So,
Mhm.
you know, this year, just the way everything was this summer and fuel prices, it was easier for us to stay in a hotel than have teams travel back and forth. So, this is a little bit uncommon this year, but yeah, I think it's fine. It's not a huge deal traveling day of there.
Looking at you know, kind of the standings and such, you've got the Wilderness, who are second right now, so you guys are looking up to them. You know, at this point, it's the second half of that. Do you sense that kind of urgency, or is that something that you guys are kind of talking about to make up some ground at this point? Because you know, and not only the Wilderness, you've got Kenai, you've got Janesville right after that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about urgency here as a staff for a while now. But you know, we've got young kids, you know, like
Right.
that's what it is. Like you got to kind of continue to remind ourselves that. And even though we treat them like they're pros, they're not. They're kids, and we're getting better. And you know, we've been playing good hockey. It's just finding ways, you know, to lose games, you know, and it's big mistakes at big times, and we're just trying to clean that stuff up and
Mm-hmm.
give ourselves a chance. I just don't want to beat ourselves, right? Like I can admit a loss, you know, when you get outplayed, and sometimes you're going to get outplayed, right? But like it doesn't feel like that's happened all that much. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like we've been, you know, our own worst enemy, and we got to definitely clean that up if we want to get to where we want to go.
Would you say it's kind of flip-flop because at the beginning of the year, you were one of the teams that played a lot of the games right away, but now when you look at it, I mean, you know, you're kind of like 3, 4 games maybe behind some of the teams
Yeah.
at the top there.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of, you know, how the schedule goes, and
Mhm.
it's nice to have those games in hand, but you know, you gotta do something with them, right? So,
Right.
this is the start of a big little stretch for us. Um, you know, with the Wilderness and then Janesville again next weekend. So, you know, we got to find a way to beat these teams, and find a way to stack a couple wins on top of each other. You know,
Mhm.
because as you see, I mean, it's only a handful of points between, you know, second and seventh. So,
Right.
you string a couple good weekends together, and all of a sudden you're right where you want to be.
Right. You mentioned the you know, the bye week too. I mean, I don't think you guys get another break coming up here, at least in the near future
Yeah, no,
at this point. So
we're on it. So yeah, but like I said, it was kind of a blessing in disguise with just kind of how we came out of break health wise, and
mhm.
um, we're pretty much full steam. We have one guy still kind of coming back from a wrist surgery, but he'll be back in a few weeks. But besides that, everything that was kind of lingering and sicknesses feels like it's gone through us, which
Mhm.
is nice. I mean, it happens every year at some point.
Right.
So for that to kind of hopefully be in the back burner is a positive.
Right. So do you think you're going to have to, and this might be kind of projecting a little bit maybe into the future or something like that, but knowing you don't have kind of maybe that bye week, is that something that you have to factor in like with your practice schedule and all that sort of stuff? Is that something that, you know, you're going to have to maybe look at during the week before games, you think?
Yeah, I think at a certain point, but you know, we're still trying to ramp it up after the break, you know, like
Mhm.
we've only been back for a few weeks. So we practiced for, you know, an hour and 25 minutes yesterday. Like the practices will just start to shorten.
Mhm.
Um but again, like they're young, you know, they should have some energy here, and we'll be conscious of that and try and give guys days off as needed. But um we'll continue to practice because, we're trying to develop, right? I mean, that's, win and develop, and guys got to get on the ice and get their touches. And, it's proven to be a pretty successful year in that regard. So we just had another kid commit to Lake Superior State in Michigan. So, really excited for Cosmo and his family. Got a really good offer from them, and line chart's starting to fill up with logos, which is great. I mean, that's what we're really excited about that. Now we want to have continued success as a team.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about that, and you beat me to the punch here too. But it's I think it was something I brought up with Kyle last week too. But it's like this year, I think more than any other year of the young history of the Steel, we're seeing more of those players commit to those colleges, and that's something that you've kind of been talking about, the developmental there. But that's got to be something, a point of pride, I got to imagine for you guys too, seeing all of your kids, I keep calling them kids, but all of your players getting commitments to these high-profile division schools for hockey.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I said, it's a huge part of what we do. It's a huge part of our identity as an organization, and myself and our staff. Like we want to identify kids that haven't been identified yet, and help them get to where they're going, or where they want to go. So, it's a huge cause. I mean, from Japan originally, came over to the state or to Canada, and he's 13 or 14 years old. Like,
man,
huge commitment on his end and his family's end. And, for him to come here and, in 4 months get a Division I scholarship is just incredible. And, we're so happy for him, and happy for Lake State. It was a great fit. And, I mean, it's a huge part of it. And it's rewarding for us to identify these kids. And then in a couple months, have a bunch of colleges calling and clamoring for them and wanting to recruit them. So, it proves that we're kind of onto something and on the right path. We've got and that's the thing that we still continue to look at. And, to me, it's a little bit perplexing at times with how good our roster is and how talented our team is and kind of where we sit. Right. So that has to do with what I said before, is just, kind of being our worst own enemy at times. And, and we're really trying to continue to work on that, and, just try not to beat ourselves.
Right. We got for your game on the home game this weekend, it's First Responders Night. So every first responder gets in free for that game. But also might be a good game for you, because I just saw you guys posted yesterday your authentic jerseys that are for sale right now. Those things look sweet, dude.
Yeah, Kyle was to say excited would be not be doing it justice, but no, I mean that's been his thing. And it's great. We're excited to get them on the rack. Our fans are rabid. Like our diehard fans are rabid. We love them, and if you want one of those, I would suggest showing up on Friday.
I was gonna say,
I don't know how long they're gonna last. So they look great.
I'm looking at them again right now. I mean, that's, if you like your hockey sweaters or like some swag.
Yeah, they're sewn on. They're legit.
They're legit. They're nice. Even the NAHL patch on there.
Yeah.
So
really cool.
That's what. If you want to make sure you get one of those, you probably should go to the game this week.
I would say so. I said I don't know how many will be left after Friday nights.
Yeah, I might have to run over there and grab one there too. So it's pretty sweet there. So check it out on their Facebook page if you kind of want to take a look at them over there. So looking at your match, when was the last time you guys do Wilderness? When was the last time you played? That was November, was it? Probably.
Yeah, it was either late November or early December, right before break.
Okay. How do you go about like scouting? Do you do much scouting when it comes to your opponents, because you play them so often? Do you have a good idea already, or?
Yeah, we watch a lot of games within the league as well. Like I spent all weekend, on the couch and was watching, the Wilderness play the Wendigo and Springfield play Janesville. So doing that a little bit, and we'll watch a lot of special teams, just to make sure we're prepared on that side of it. But nobody's really changing how they're playing all that much 5-on-5, throughout the year. So,
Right.
and teams change a lot, personnel changes. They obviously, they had one of their better players, was traded to Sioux City, lost a defenseman, their one of their captains, who was the captain of Latvia in the World Juniors. He got hurt, so I don't know what his timetable is, but they're a little different than they were when we saw them. But they're deep, they play hard, they're well coached, and yeah, again, for us, we want to focus on the steal and
Right.
and playing our best game, not really worrying about the opponent's staff. Kind of, we do that background and due diligence. We just want our players to focus on what we're trying to have them do.
Right, exactly. So, getting a recap, you got the home and away this weekend. Home game going up against the Wilderness on the 20th, first responders night. So, any first responder getting in free. And if you're looking at the schedule, I mean, second half, but you're going to be on the road quite a bit here too. So, if you want to catch some action, you better get over there now.
Yeah, home games are. I haven't looked really too far past the schedule, past like early February, but yeah, it's definitely heavy road. We got to go to Springfield twice.
Get your Alaska
we'll go
trip
back
coming
to
up.
Yeah, we go back to Alaska. Late
I was
in
going
the
to say that's
season.
towards the end of your schedule, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, it's like the third and the second to last week of the year. Well, I think we come back and play one series and then playoffs. So might have to go right back up there, which is difficult, but we'll worry about that when we get there. But yeah, I mean, obviously the 2 Springfield trips, got to go back to Eagle River. So yeah, it's good. It's good to get on the road and kind of get all the distractions away and just go out and play and have the boys be together. And
right.
But yeah, tonight, Friday night's obviously a big game, and looking forward to a good crowd.
Yeah, get there, and if you want one of those jerseys, you got to go over there and purchase it too. And then February, the month after, you just got a few games there, especially in the beginning part, and then just a handful in March. So get on over to the ice arena.
That's
no
right.
excuses, baby. So
that's right. Yeah, it should be fun second half, pushing down the stretch, and yeah, I mean we're excited. I think like we said, we have a good group, and just looking for us to kind of take another step and put it all together.
All right. Well, Coach, appreciate you stopping in and rest up with
Absolutely.
with the wisdom teeth there too.
Thanks.
So
appreciate it.
Keep popping those ibuprofen if you have to. So.
Need a sponsorship.
Go Giants, right?
That's right.
Go Giants. Go Giants. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll catch up with RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, coming up after these quick words. All right, I'm excited for this because we are adding Cabin Coffee to our Sports Talk family here, and joining us is one of the co-owners of Cabin Coffee, Joe. Appreciate you hopping on, and welcome aboard, I guess, to our little family, our little circle of friends, as we like to call them over here.
I'm very excited to be here, so thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So Cabin Coffees at River Prairie, and the development, it seems like something new is popping up over at River Prairie, every week. But that was kind of how it got started. Your wife, this was her dream, was to kind of start her own business, and lo and behold, it was Cabin Coffee.
Yeah, my wife has always had a vision of starting her own business, and then when she heard about the River Prairie development, she asked herself, "I wonder where the coffee shop's going to be."
Yeah.
And she was in like a presentation as to what's coming there. So she approached the city administrator and said, "Hey, where's the coffee shop going to be?" And he said, "Well, nobody approached us yet, and I can't believe nobody has." And my wife says, "I'm going to put a Cabin Coffee in River Prairie."
That's
and
awesome.
That's the story.
And the rest is the story, as they say.
Yep.
Exactly. So, and this is kind of perfect too, because Joe, you did play college football with the Badgers back in the day too. So
I did.
Sports, Badgers. I mean, come on, perfect fit,
Hey,
right?
I agree. No problems.
Exactly. So I'm a big coffee guy. My wife is a big coffee guy. Her favorite is the Twister that you guys got over there.
Frappe,
yep, that's her favorite. So
Awesome.
She picks that up every weekend when she's gotten over there too.
Very popular. It's like a candy bar in a cup, man.
Exactly. I'm kind of like, once in a while I'll dabble into sweetened ones there too. But you got a white coffee that you were telling me a little bit about here too. And we got here, and something I didn't know. You're the only ones with the white coffee, you said.
Yeah, we're the only ones around here with the white coffee. It's got more caffeine, so if you're really need a kick, it's a lot healthier than your energy drinks. It's 100% coffee, and so it's not treated with chemicals. It's just got a more of a smoother, nuttier flavor, and it's got more caffeine, so it will take care of your energy needs.
That's perfect for me because I'm up at 3:00 in the morning. So when I need another kick, I know I got to come over there and get a white chocolate.
Absolutely.
To get through the rest of the day. Plus, then I got a 5-year-old I got to pick up after that, so I don't even get a break after that. So
maybe we just put one on tap here for you.
I think that's a great idea. I like where you're thinking, man. Just load it up a couple times there. Then I'm ready to go after I pick them up from kindergarten too for that like third wave of the day. But also too, because you're a local coffee shop, and one thing I think is fantastic, you roast on site too.
Yeah, we are a roastery. We order our beans green from all over the world, and we can have from the time it starts roasting to the time it's in the bags about 25 minutes, and no factor. So it's as fresh as you can get it for coffee.
That's the best part too, because I think one of my favorite smells is like that fresh coffee, walking into it, or the fresh ground beans and all that. That's one of my top 5 favorite smells of all time, getting that. So Joe, this was great kind of catching up to you. I'm looking forward to chatting with you throughout this partnership, and I love your idea about the tap. I'm an ideas guy, so I might be bugging you about that to get that tap going on here so we can power through that there, sir. So,
absolutely. Let's get it started.
I love it. Joe, big thanks, and it was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
All right, bottom of the hour here. Let's just jump right into it because we've got lots to catch up on with our Badger analyst, Mr. RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison. We got some hoops, but first, I still want to catch up and get an update on some of the football stuff going on there, RJ. So, CJ Williams officially coming, man. Now it's quarterbacks. Now we're too loaded with wide receivers. It seems like we got too much depth over there. So I mean, what the heck, dude? I mean, this is. I don't know what else we could say about this. This is fantastic to see all these highly thought of, recruited 4-star, 3-star, whatever stars they are. I mean, it just seems like Luke Fickell and his staff right now are hitting a bunch of home runs on this transfer portal.
Yeah, it does seem that way. You're looking at now, like you said, you're going to have 6 scholarship quarterbacks come the fall. You have 5 right now. I'm not sure if Cole LaCrue is early enrollee or not. I don't think so. but yeah, you're going about this and looking at it, and the receiver room is now, I think, your lowest ranked scholarship receiver is like an 86 per the recruiting services, and that's the entire room. So yeah, you've drastically upgraded your quarterback room. Like we've talked earlier, you go from 2 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster at the end of the season with the bowl game to 5 who are going to be hit spring ball. That's good. And then you got 2 more coming in, like I said, in Cole LaCrue and Mabry Metower. So that's not till 2024 though. So you'll, quite frankly, probably have a couple quarterbacks leaving after this year. One with Mordecai having his final year, and then probably things fleshing out some way or another. Somebody's probably going to leave if they don't win the spot after he leaves. So, but yeah, it's something that this offseason has kept Wisconsin on the tips of everybody's tongue. And then maybe come this February, you have maybe adding a few more defensive things to your commit class, because you still have that date out there as well, and we'll see how that goes right after Wisconsin, the coaching staff hit the trail in state and in Chicago, and kind of a big deal about it. I know at least around the corridor here, once you cross the line into Illinois, a lot of Chicagoland area billboards went up, as well as billboards in the state here to be homegrown Badgers or Chicagoland Badgers. So yeah, it's kind of crazy what we've seen in terms of commitment to recruiting, and I don't think that's all on Paul Chryst. It might be that the old regime in the athletic department wasn't willing to participate, but I mean, you're not doing this without the clearance of your AD. So it appears McIntosh might know that, to be competitive with these teams, we have to up everything. And I know in the past, the pay has been an issue for some coaches. It shouldn't be. Wisconsin, sure, they're on the low end of the Big Ten, or were, but I mean, you can live comfortably on the salaries they were giving in the Madison area. So yeah, it looks like there is a commitment to really changing things up here.
Yeah, I mentioned CJ, but also another transfer receiver from Oklahoma State, Bryson Green, coming over. He was the second leading receiver last year for OK State. I was reading a little bit what after Williams committed to Wisconsin, and I love this mindset and this quote that he had to say, that we want to be the one when ESPN comes to town. They look at every single receiver and are like, this guy could kill you on any given day, and they're all going to be playing on Sundays. I don't remember the last time we even thought about having that kind of conversation when it came to a Wisconsin football team. And I know Braylon Allen's excited because he tweeted out last week, really looking forward to not having those 9 in the box, or 9 defenders in the box, next year too.
I mean, the one thing we do have to tell CJ Williams, though, is we're not going to be on ESPN. Yeah. Fox, CBS, NBC. Take your pick there, bud, but not ESPN anymore. Yeah, it'll be one of those. If that's the attitude you have, that's awesome. Yeah, make this offense more dynamic. And what we've seen from Longo's offenses at his stops, outside of when he ran the triple option and then made the switch at Sam Houston State, I think it was. But after that, you're seeing dynamic offenses that implement the air raid into not a strict air raid sense, because his offenses have been able to run time off clocks using the run game if they need to. Their offenses have been able to sling the ball around the field all game if that's what it needs to be as well. You just hope now the defensive side of the ball can stay at the level we expect here at Wisconsin, because if that falls through, hopefully you don't have Pickle making some changes on the other side. I mean, you'd expect it, but I mean, that's one that the defensive side of the ball is really more the side to watch. I know people will be happy to see something different on the offense, and maybe with these transfers that'll take care of itself. I'm still more interested on that defensive side of the ball to see if there's any drop in production from what we've seen really since Dave Aranda arrived. So that's the big key for me, because if we have an offense that's going to be quick strike and be able to make those home run plays, it doesn't always pay to have your defense go right back out there, especially if they're sustaining long drives and being on the field for a while. You do see a lot of more up-tempo teams have that happen, and that's why you get those high-scoring games in the Big 12 a lot of the time. It's really I'm still interested in that defensive side of the ball. All these transfers and stuff like that, it's really exciting, but it'll, like Braylon Allen has said, I'm looking forward to those 7-6 guys in the box, because they can't line up with us. I mean, being in 10 personnel, I mean, he's probably going to love that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what goes on here come spring ball, see what we get in terms of a spring game, whether it's going to be more of a game, more of a practice that's still open. Who knows? But really looking forward to spring ball here.
You mentioned the defense, and it sounds like the Badgers have their new outside linebackers coach and special teams coordinator, Matt Mitchell, who just the other day it was reported that he was resigning from Grand Valley State as head coach, where he was pretty darn successful, 117 wins, only 31 losses. But sounds like now he's coming to Wisconsin to fill in or to take that special teams coordinator. And I would say a really important position with those outside linebackers group, considering Wisconsin's history the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he was only behind Brian Kelly in wins there. So that's a pretty good company to be in, whatever you think of Brian Kelly as a coach, but results are there for that. But I already thought the safeties coach was going to be the special teams coordinator, so that was a bit of an odd announcement, especially since Wisconsin put out a graphic with the safeties coach / special teams coordinator there. Maybe they're co-special teams coordinators, or maybe with this move, I don't know much about him outside of, like you said, his record at Green Valley State. But it's one of those, maybe he's a better special teams coordinator as well, and he'll fill in that role better than the safeties coach would have. I think we still need a running backs coach, and I'm trying to think of what else there is to fill out that coaching staff. Is that it? Possibly. But yeah, it's one of those. It's a D2 school. People will look at that and be like, "What's going on there?" But I mean, if a coach can coach, then and you get the kind of results there. I mean, we've all seen it with a D3 coach in Lance Leipold jumping to D1, being successful at Buffalo, and now showing great improvement at Kansas. So it's not necessarily a D2 jump to a head coach, but it's a D2 jump to a position coach at a Power 5 school, and probably a drastic pay raise in there as well.
Yeah, no doubt. RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. Hoops-wise, Badger Hoops on a 3-game losing streak. They got a game against Penn State tonight. No word on Tyler Wall. I did see somewhere that he has been doing some practicing or return to practice in a limited role, but it's pretty clear, RJ, that this team really, really misses Tyler Wall at this point.
Yeah, it does seem like he might be the glue that is holding everything together right now.
Mm-hmm.
So those fire guard people, just it's really clear you don't know what's going on, especially since you had a coach who has won the Big Ten the past 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you like his style of play or not, or the fact that the top recruits in this state don't appear to want to play at Wisconsin, he wins. If you want to point to a couple of years ago where allegedly somebody within the program was trying to sabotage him, I think that's now kind of been proven. It wasn't really an issue. It was made an issue, and the current players on this roster were not a part of that issue, or current members of the staff on this roster were not part of that issue. So, yeah, it's kind of not good that it's one player kind of holding everything together, but we've seen it while he's on the court at least. It's not one player who ends up being the guy, you know. I think sometimes it just takes that one player's presence on the course or on the court to be a calming effect, and it helps people not try to press. We also did see Greg Gard's comments talking about we probably need to start seeing more playing time for Connor Essegian. And that's one, I mean, he still has been getting around more the same minutes as Jordan Davis, but is this finally a time where we're going to see Connor Essegian be the starter? And whatever you want to say about his defense, if you think of that Moneyball scene where Billy Bean pulls Pete into the meeting and is talking to the scouts, and every time he points, he snaps and points, he gets on base. Well, this is one snap and point, he scores. I mean, if you're scoring more than the other team, you're more than likely going to win, you know. Sure, his defense needs some work, but he also led the team in rebounds and defensive rebounds against Indiana while he was playing. Now, maybe that was a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, saying you guys didn't offer me a scholarship, but who knows? He had I think he was the leading scorer too, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, it's one of those. I mean, I feel the layperson can even see he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't he earned that starting position yet? But we also know within this program at Wisconsin, the defensive side of the ball is heavily leaned on. And we've even seen in these losses, Wisconsin, for the most part, has been in the games because the defense is still doing okay. You know, there's some lulls in that Illinois game. It was a 10-point loss. Probably should have beaten Michigan State if it weren't for some lapses in judgment on the court or the lack of scoring in the final 3.5 minutes. It's not the same thing over and over again. So it's something different. If it was the same thing over and over again, yeah, I'd look at you and be like, well, maybe guard seat's getting a little warm. But the fact they're changing stuff and something else pops up lets you know the coaching isn't the problem right now. It's the talent, and I mean, we've seen recruiting be very good here before, but even on a year-to-year basis, there's kids who aren't going to want to come to Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've seen what the swing offense can be, and we've even seen it some this year. It opens up. It allows you to open up. It's not the strict set of pass, work the clock down. But if you can do that, you limit the other team's possessions, and that's a good portion of it. It can be sped up. It can be slowed down. You just need the athletes who can use that system take it to a Final Four or even a championship game, and it works. Just there's not enough kids who understand that because we'll use PJ Fleck's negative recruitment on, well, how many kids go to the NBA out of that school? So, whatever.
Right.
It is what it is. But we've seen it work very well. And, it's not a bad thing, but people seem to think it is.
Yeah. Speaking of defense, they'll have their hands full tonight with Jalen Pickett, who's kind of their do-it-all player for Penn State, leads the team in points and rebounds and assists, 17.6, 7.4, 7.4. Got him at maybe a Chucky Hepburn assignment, you think, perhaps?
Chucky Hepburn or maybe Clyde Smith. I mean,
Okay.
We've seen him. I mean, he's usually a little undersized for the guy he's guarding. But yeah, one of those two, I think both of them are very capable defenders. And we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I think if you go and can limit him, that you should be having some success against Penn State. So, yeah, looking forward to tonight. I'm guessing Vegas knows something out there because Wisconsin's favored by 3 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing we might see a Tyler Wall sighting tonight.
Ooh, nice. That'd be awesome. Hey, before I let you go, I got to ask, any concern about the Badger women's hockey team right now on a 5-game losing streak? And in this 5-game losing streak, they've only scored 2 total goals right now. Are you concerned?
No, it's a little troubling to see. I mean, we've been on that Ron Poole Peel little oven for the longest time. Set it and forget it.
Right.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you're looking at it and wondering what's going on. But yeah, it's your defense has been there for the most part. There's been a couple where, you just got blown out 5-0 in Columbus. So, well, yeah, it's kind of puzzling, but hopefully they can steer things in the right direction here. Those 5 losses have all come in conference. So, I don't know, probably not Quinnipiac. I wouldn't think they're in the conference. So, they're 4 of the 5 are in conference.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked about it. It's one of the best women's hockey conferences in the country. I believe Ohio State was number 1. Probably still are last weekend. So, yeah, just I don't know what it's going to take to right the ship, but I mean, hopefully you do get into that WCHA tournament and qualify for the NCAAs. But yeah, it's a little rough patch here. I think it's the first ever 5-game losing streak, I thought I read, or at least in a long time. But yeah, I have all the trust in my former Little League.
I was going to say, I think he's got some credibility,
Yeah,
just a little bit.
He took us to the World Series. So not the legit Little League World Series, but the Madison, west side of Madison Little League World Series where we took second on I'll call it the Bush League, call it home plate, but whatever.
Nice.
I'm totally past that.
Oh man, dude, good stuff as always. Appreciate the time, RJ. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll keep an eye out for the Luke's Pickle bat signal in case there's anything else after today.
Right. Yep. I think we might because school is starting soon. I think we might be done on the transfer side, but that doesn't mean we aren't going to see maybe some verbal commitments coming up here. Probably not, because I think the guys who are going to be signing in February kind of want to keep it tight-lipped, so all eyes are on them. So
Nice.
It could be a little bit of a quiet period here up until February signing day. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out. But like you said, usually something always happens after we talk.
Oh yeah. All right, dude. Hey, you have a good rest of the week. We'll catch up on Tuesday next week. Okay, bud?
Sounds good. We will talk to you then.
You got it. RJ Cardinal bringing it as always. We got to take our final break here this morning. Quick break, and then we'll be back to finish up this Tuesday morning after these few words. Wrapping things up here this morning. Tonight might be the night to get the radio and the TV up. Got both the Badger basketball team in action going up against Penn State and Bucks. Bucks tonight, tip-off 6:30 against the Toronto Raptors. Raptors coming off of an OT win against the Knicks there. Bucks coming off their win against the Pacers last night. So, and then the Badger Penn State game tonight. That tip time at 7:30. So you get the Bucks game on your radio at 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Get the Badger Hoops game up on your telly, on the television. There you go. Perfect, right? Done. All right, let's what else? Cover some bases here quickly because we only got a couple minutes left here. Brady, yeah, I know there's people trying to figure out where he's going. You know, the whole 49ers thing, and this is kind of what was a little bit of like my grind my gears here thing too. But if the 49ers say they go to the Super Bowl or even win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, and Purdy had a fantastic game the other day. But can you, like, it's a good problem to have, I guess, but would you really go and try to go all out and bring Brady in for a year knowing that maybe you could have Purdy on the bench or Trey Lance? I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. I think Brady might want to go to the 49ers, but would the 49ers want Brady? You know what I mean? Like, I know there's that talk, and you know, he could finish his career with the team he grew up loving and rooting for and this, that, and the other thing. They got a good defense. They've got some great offensive skill players. I mean, it would fit in there, but would the 49ers want that? You know, I don't know how much it would cost. It's not like Brady's going to sign for the minimum. I don't think that's going to be the case, but the 49ers, they've got to shell out a huge contract for Nick Bosa. That's going to be a lot. They've already got Deebo Samuel under contract. McCaffrey's got that big deal there too. Trent Williams has a huge contract. I mean, if you're winning with some cheap play from your quarterbacks, I don't know. I feel like the Raiders are gonna spend a lot for Brady to bring him over there. That's, if I had to pick it, I think it's the Raiders. I don't know. I know some people are kind of like pointing at Brady's press conference after the game yesterday or last night. Kind of similar to how people were doing it with Rodgers' press conference, and Brady was, you know, thanking the reporters and, you know, saying that kind stuff to say about the organization, which kind of made it seem like a goodbye one. But I don't know if it was necessarily a goodbye from playing, and maybe just a goodbye from playing with the Buccaneers. There are reports, haven't seen anything confirmed yet, that Byron Leftwich is going to be fired, which, whew, talk about how a difference a year makes. Byron Leftwich was getting head coach interviews last year, and now he might even be fired from Tampa Bay. So, difference a year makes. Holy moly. All right, that's going to do it for us because the shot clock is going to cut me off here in about 30 seconds or so. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll do another little showdown. We got stock reports, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. We'll get to that. Also, we got a little, what else are we going to do on a Wednesday? Yeah, I think that's, stock reports and a little bit of a showdown there. Talk some Bucks, see if the Bucks can pick up another W. We'll continue our Packers off-season scouting. Go back to the offense. We're kind of flip-flopping back and forth between the offense and the defense. So we'll go back to the offense. And, well, Goody pretty much said that they're going to bring Aaron Jones back. Maybe we'll hit up the running backs and kind of take a look at that. Not a whole lot to talk about, though, if you think about it. But maybe we'll throw another position group in there, too. All right, have a good Tuesday. We'll be back again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.